One of the top questions I get after how much should I be saving for retirement is how much should I be withdrawing each year from my retirement savings in a safe way so that I don't run out of money. So I've created a calculator which helps answer that question. My name is Zachary Kamykowski, and I'm an attorney with the law office of Zachary D. Kamykowski, PLLC, and I help parents with minor children and people nearing retirement achieve their life and legacy goals. So I want to encourage you to request the free cheat sheet, How to Secure Your Legacy Without a Will, and you'll receive this calculator in a subsequent email. So let's get into the calculator. I created this calculator based on this equation, and I found this equation in the book The Calculus of Retirement Income by Moshe A. Milewski, and you can buy that book at bookpeople.com, and I encourage you to do that. It's a very good book. You will find this equation in chapter 9. So rather than you struggling through this equation, I have created a calculator based on that equation, and it helps answer the question, am I going to run out of money before I pass? So there's some assumptions that go in here, some inputs. The first input is the age of the individual, and that calculates in the background the life expectancy and the annual mortality rate. So for this example, we have someone who is 62 years old, and they have a life expectancy, therefore, of 23.5 years. And they have a 2.95% chance of passing before their 63rd birthday. So just to start off, I've started with some historical returns and volatility of the stock market, but a retirement portfolio may or may not be more conservative than this. So we start off with a 20% volatility rate on expected volatility of the portfolio and an 8% expected return, and those are annual. So this individual has a starting wealth of $1 million, and they're starting off with the traditional 4% spending rate. Now, this calculator does not account for inflation, so it's just $40,000 for the individual's remaining life. So, starting off with those assumptions, they have an 11.01% probability of ruin. That means they have an 11% chance of running out of money before they pass. So, with the calculator, and when you receive the calculator, you'll be able to play around with these different inputs. So if we increase the age from 62 to 65, their probability of ruin goes down, and that's because they have fewer years of life expectancy. So the $1 million has to cover fewer years. And you can see that their life expectancy goes down to 21 years. And their mortality rate goes up to 3.3%. So this 8% does not account for inflation. So let's take 2% out for inflation. That increases the probability of ruin to 18.76%. Now, we could if we increase the spending rate, that is also going to increase the probability of ruin. Say it goes from 4% to 5%, and that increases the probability of ruin to 27%. There's an argument to be made that 6% is too optimistic for the expected return of a retirement portfolio, and it may be too optimistic even for the S&P 500 going forward, and that's because valuations are quite high right now. So here's the index from Professor Robert Shiller of Yale's website. And this just shows the index, the S&P 500 historical data, and you can see that it has gotten pretty high recently. Here's his cyclically adjusted price-earnings ratio. And the data, the last data point is 38.3, and you can see that that is historically pretty high. The only higher point was in the midst of the tech bubble of the early 2000s. Because the price-earnings ratio is so high right now, 38.3, it is an indication that future expected returns could be quite a bit lower than historical averages. Professor Schiller's data is suggesting that the excess yield is only 3.2%. So that would be on top of 10-year yields. And the current 10-year yield is about 1.6%. So if you add 1.6 to 3.2, that's about 4.8. And so we'll lower our value. We lowered it, our expected return, to 5. Then we get a probability of ruin of 34%. And this is still at the 5% spending rate. Let's lower it down to the 4, because that's the traditional rule of thumb. So with expected returns at 5%, we have a probability of ruin of 25% if we have a 4% annual spending rate with a wealth of $1 million. Now this does not include inflation, so we should take off another 2, and then we have, so our expected return is down to 3%, and the probability of ruin climbs up to 41.89%. So the point of this calculator is for you to be skeptical of the 4% rule that you hear all the time. If you have any questions about this calculator, then I encourage you to reach out to me at txwealthlaw.com. And I also encourage you to request the free cheat sheet, How to Secure Your Legacy Without a Will. Thank you.